How are you all? Have some people still connecting to us. So I'm gonna talk for just a second while everybody gets in here. I'm gonna see, there's a view on the top of your Zoom screen called Gallery View in the top right. And that way we can see everyone if you'd like. And if you, it's just the top right of the screen. It may be different on your phone if you're looking on a phone versus on a computer. And sometimes if you turn the phone this way, then you can see a little bit better too. And if anyone needs to say off video, that is perfectly fine as well. But sometimes it's just nice to see each other. Good morning, everybody. I did want to tell you this is a private Zoom. It's for healthcare professionals. In case you've heard some stories of people looking in on Zoom, we should be safe. That's why I pay extra. So I'm glad you all are here this morning. And I think somebody is maybe Bonnie. Am I seeing two different people? Do we have a Bonnie and someone else connecting? I'm trying to figure that one out. I'm wanting to make sure everybody can see us who needs to, but okay. Well, how's your week going? I think if you want to speak, then you can push the space bar down for a minute and it will temporarily unmute you if you want to do that, or you can kind of raise your hand and I'll unmute you as well. We'll see what we can do, try to figure that one out. So good to see everybody's faces. I've gotten some questions already. I don't want to spend too much time waiting to go ahead and mention some things that people had questions about. Let's see. I've got someone else coming in. Okay, we've got one more person joining us. That's great. Okay. Well, I want to make sure we used our time well. We've had 2 days to take in a lot of information. And one of the questions that we've had already is about how do we prioritize what I've already talked about? How do we know what's the most important thing to start with? And when we're making changes. And I think that's a really good thing for us to talk about to begin with, because you will be getting a lot of information over the next few weeks. And sometimes it can feel like you're drinking from a fire hydrant, and so much information almost can be paralyzing. So I am trying to break it down into bite-sized pieces, but also balance that with the fact I want to be able to get as much information to you as I can. So it's hard for me to learn how to do both of those. But I'm going to start with addressing that question because I think that will affect really the rest of our course together. I have clients who come to me and said, Bethany, I have read all the books out there and I still don't know what to do for me. So I've written out a few thoughts, and I'm just going to go over to my notes so I don't miss anything. So one thing I would encourage you, with the information that you hear, you can select some things that you think are going to make the most impact upon your life, the things that will make the most difference for you right now. You could take it from that way. Or you could say, what are some things that just seem really easy? I call that low-hanging fruit. So some things that would be a really simple thing for me to do today or tomorrow that could affect me. And little steps will add up to big change. And you know that even with starting a habit, it's the small things that really impact you. It's not necessarily always just diving off of the deep end. But one thing I want to consider, I'm going to use the example because we've talked about hydration this week and water. So maybe you hear me say you need to drink more water. And then you think, okay, I'm going to drink more water. If I tell you if I ask you what's a goal that you could have for the week, you say, well, I'm going to drink more water. Well, that's not actually a goal. That's a wish. And our wishes don't always come true. Then if you say, well, I said, well, let's get a little bit more specific. And you say, well, I'm going to start drinking more water tomorrow. That's still not a goal. That's a hope. So let's get a little bit more specific. You say, I'm going to drink 1 8-ounce glass of water when I wake up in the morning. That's better. That's better. We're getting a little bit more concrete. But what if you say, I'm going to prepare an 8-ounce insulated cup of water, put next to my bed, so that when I wake up in the morning, I can drink it. That's specific. That's action that you can take. And that gives a very specific time frame. And I'm going to say, to get even better about that, you can set an alarm on your phone the night before to remind you before you go to bed, remember to make your water tumbler for the bedside table. That's something that's helpful. Other thing is to enlist help. So ask a friend, ask your spouse, ask a family member, hey, can you help me remember? I'm really wanting to make an 8-ounce cup of water to put by the bedside table in the morning. Can you help me remember that? Or can you help jog my memory? Some of you remember by hearing things. Some of you remember by seeing things or by doing it. So you're going to have to think about your own learning style and what triggers you. I use my phone a lot, and I speak to Siri all the time. I think it drives my husband crazy, but I'll say, hey Siri, add a reminder to prepare a water cup today at 9 p.m. And Siri reminds me. So all I have to do is speak to Siri, and I've got a reminder that's going to pop up on my phone tonight. Now, some people don't like technology, and that is okay. Any of you in the room have mastered some bit of technology, so that's a good thing. But maybe you just use a Post-it note or a good old string around the finger. But that's why I'm talking about small things that you can do to put into practice. And these recordings are going to be available for you for 12 whole weeks. So you can go back and listen. Maybe something will catch your attention the second or even the third time that didn't catch your attention the first time. And maybe you just write some list of things that stood out to you, and then you'll go back and maybe, highlight the things that you think are the easiest, and maybe a different color of things that are going to require a little bit more work, or maybe that require you to buy something or to do something a little bit more in depth. So I'm going to start with that for now, but I'm going to keep that question in my mind every week as we talk. And we're going to go back through, and I would even like to see, does anyone today have something that has stood out to them for the week that you think I'd like help making that into a specific goal? You can raise your hand if you want me to unmute you.
Okay. Unmute me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so what we did is the stainless steel water bottle. I was using a plastic one and still in, but we went ahead and ordered a stainless steel one, right? I got to make a more specific goal.
Okay. I think you cut out for a minute, Marty, but that is a great first step. That's a simple thing to do, a simple swap. So simple swaps are good things to start with. And they can start to make a big difference. Anybody else? Okay. I think Kathy unmuted, and then we'll go to Ann.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Marty, how many glasses of water are you all drinking for your beginning steps?
I'm probably drinking what I need to already. So it's just the I don't know what size water bottle this is, but I probably drink a little more than half my body weight in ounces.
Okay.
Okay. So good. So you've already reached one point. It's just a switching over the kind of container. Okay. Kathy, did you have?
Right, because you'd said the plastic wasn't, I mean, it could leach some toxins.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Anne, I'm going to unmute you for a second. Just a minute. Just a minute, Anne. It won't let me unmute you. I can't get Anne unmuted. Just a minute, Anne. Just a minute. She's talking and I can't hear her. I know you've got something good to say. I'm trying to let you speak. Is your audio on? Okay. I'm sorry. We're going to go to somebody else, Anne, and maybe I can talk to you later. I'm so sorry. The sound isn't coming through. Okay. Anybody else who wanted to chime in? Okay. Well, I'm going to go on to another question that we had. And let's see. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and piggyback off the water because we had another question about the water filter. There are some different water filter options available on the site that I showed to you. And someone was wondering if they could get the one that was more of the emergency filter instead of the one for up to 6 people. And I can say from just my experience, if you have the time to let it filter out, you can buy the smaller container. It just might take a little bit longer, but it will still filter a good bit for you. So the smallest one that they have, I think, is like, it's about for 2 people. It's good for travel. It's also nice because it might not take as much room on your counter if you don't have a lot of counter space. And so I'm not exactly sure what the emergency filter was one, but I think I'm just gonna go to the website really quickly and see if I can share the screen with you, because I want to make sure you knew what I was talking about. I think there's another person in our group who bought a small, it's called the travel one. It's 1.5 gallons. And I'm going to share this screen just so you see what I'm talking about. Let's see. I'm still learning some screen share, so just a minute. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so this is the travel filter. It's 1.5 gallons. It filters 2 3/4 gallons per hour. So that's still a lot. And you can always filter and put it in a pitcher for yourself. But most people aren't drinking 2.75 gallons an hour anyway. So I think you would be fine buying the smallest capacity. The only one I would not advise buying that they have available is one called the Berkey Light. And that's made out of kind of a BPA polyester plastic, but I would just, it's really not worth it. You can buy a metal one for much better. So we've even brought our stainless steel water system with us when we went to the beach. It was packed in the back of our Suburban. We like it so much. So it's one of those things that I really notice a difference with the taste of the water. You may not notice a difference with taste if your taste perception is down, but it makes a big difference with your water quality. And like I said, there's more things, but that's just one option that I found to be very helpful and pretty affordable when we researched that. So I'm going to get back to our Zoom screen, and I'm hoping I can see everybody else now. I'm not trying to share anymore. I don't want to. There we go. Okay. Okay. Let's see. You talked about if we'd find a worksheet helpful. What are examples of what would be on the worksheet? So I can design any kind of worksheet that you would like. What I typically see with people is that they would have a worksheet with some fill in the blanks. I don't like worksheets myself. I don't like to play by the rules always, and I like a blank sheet of paper just to write things on. So I'd love to hear from you what you prefer. I could do a blank sheet with just some big headings with space to write, or I can give you some fill in the blanks, or we can have both options. So it's whatever helps you learn a little bit better. So I'm going to ask for a show of hands. Who likes fill in the blank worksheets? Just raise your hand. See 1, 2, okay. Okay, and Laura, I can't see yours, but you can go in either category. Okay, who likes just a blank space to write things down? Okay. And does everybody have access to a printer? If you don't, raise your hand. No print, okay. And I know sometimes technology doesn't always cooperate with us, so I could at least send you the fill in the blank worksheet and you could write your answers down and print it later if you need to. But if I need to mail someone something, let me know, and I'll try to get those things, and maybe after the class that I get them sheets mailed out to you, but I can mail it if you need me to print it and mail it to you. I will do that. So I'll try to work on that for our classroom times, to have a worksheet that you can fill in some things. So I'm going to take a drink of water. Good break for a second. Another question was, how do we find calming foods for us? That is a great question. I'm going to tell you a basic answer, and then we'll get more in depth about the answer as we go along throughout the class. When I'm talking about calming foods, I'm going to use the broad category. First of all, foods that are plant-based in their whole food forms as much as possible are going to be foods that give us a lot of antioxidants. So those in the general category are things that are most calming. So that would be fruits and vegetables and spices and nuts and wholesome oils and fats. And we're going to be covering specific categories of those over the next few weeks. And I'm not sure exactly what's on the docket for this upcoming Monday. I think it may be carbohydrates that we cover on Monday. So either carbohydrates or proteins. I think it may be carbs. I don't have my schedule in front of me. But we'll kind of talk about in those specific categories what would be more of an anti-inflammatory approach and what would be ones that we would want to look out for and avoid. So for the most part, the recipes that I give you will be ones that do not contain the foods that I find on when we test people and do a food chemical sensitivity panel. There are 4 things that show up the most often that people have problems with, and I'll probably will not be giving you recipes for those during this class, just so we can kind of avoid the big 4. That would be soy, because we have a lot of processed soy in our environment, or in our food supply, not in our environment. Well, I guess in our environment too with plastics. Soy can be a big problem, and I find that very often for people who have autoimmune conditions. That's the ladies I work with who have Hashimoto's, so it can be a big, big trigger for that. So I will not be preparing recipes with soy. Some people find that they can put it in their diet in small amounts and it's okay, like a non-genetically modified soy, organic soybeans, organic soy sauce, but I'll be leaving those out of our recipes. Dairy is the other thing that people find to be very inflammatory. Some people can handle small amounts of dairy, and there's some kinds that I do like to use, and I'll bring that up. But for the most part, I will not be including lots of dairy products in our recipes. Corn is another product that a lot of people find to be problematic. I'd say at least 50 to 60% of the people that I test for food and food chemical sensitivities have a strong reaction to corn. We have corn in our food supply is used for so many different preservatives, even natural preservatives. Corn is a sneaky product that finds its way into a lot of things. And it can cause a lot of problems for people, anywhere from migraines to significant GI problems, diarrhea, constipation. It can cause skin issues with people. It just depends upon how your body reacts to it. But I'm just going to leave that one out of our recipes for a safety net. And the last one is wheat. Wheat can be a big problem for people as well. We're going to dive, when we talk about carbohydrates, we're going to talk a little bit more about gluten. Should you go gluten-free? How to know if you need to go gluten-free? So we're going to explore that when we come to that unit, which I'll probably make that Monday, even if I haven't planned for it, because there's a lot of questions about that one. So when we take those 4 out and we focus on mainly whole food forms of things, foods in their natural state, that's what I'm looking for the most. And then when we try to go organic as much as possible, sometimes there are limitations to that one. And I'm just going to say that I love peaches so much. I grew up in Georgia and I'm a Georgia peach. If I cannot find organic peaches, and that means I'm going to miss out on peaches for the whole season, you better bet I'm going to buy some non-organic peaches because I love them and I enjoy eating those. So we have to balance common sense and with science in what we do. And we'll talk a little bit more about vegetables and fruits and how to know what to prioritize with that as well. So that's just kind of a short, abbreviated answer to calming foods. And I'm going to explain a little bit more about, probably in a bonus session, about the food and food chemical sensitivity panel and program that I use with my clients to help them find exactly what's calming for their body. Because it's very, very individual when we move beyond just the main things. So let's see, does anybody else have another question that you've thought of as we've been talking or that you've been wanting to ask today? Okay. Someone had a question about when you have your mini session with me, what information should you have available, which is a good question. So some of you have your complimentary mini session booked with me. And if you want to have any lab work that you've had done in the past year or so available, if you want to go ahead and send that to me, I can look at that for you. And I will also be sending you a quick form to fill out to put like any medications that you're on currently. So I want to make sure that I mention that one. That will help me to kind of think through how do we structure some time and some of my recommendations. So that would be the main thing. But if there's something that you specifically want to talk about in your session with me, just let me know ahead of time if you want to, and say, I'd really like to talk about this specific aspect. I had sent a video yesterday to one of our participants about how to access my recommendations on FullScript. I've sent you some things that I've said, hey, you can buy this on my online dispensary. And I've realized in the past few days, it may be a little bit difficult for you to actually see my recommendations. So I'm going to create a video that I send out, kind of like I send out the replay links, for you to be able to discover how to go and create a FullScript account, how to get into my online portal for that, and then how to order based upon the category for Parkinson's, because I want to make sure that you're clear. So I have a lot of good things in there that can be helpful for you. There's just too many things to even address right now, but there are some things that I have listed out and shown you pictures of in the links and the units. Has anyone been able to go into the Practice Better modules for our program and actually look at the recommendations on there and some of the handouts? Or have you tried to and had problems? Okay. If you end up trying to go into the course and you have problems getting the handouts or looking at my recommendations, would you just let me know? I can always send things in an email to you, but sometimes I don't want you to have all that big file size on your computer if you don't want it. So I try to avoid as much traffic with email as possible, just to keep things in one place. Any other questions? So you will still have a chance to look over our course material from this week. You've got 11 more weeks to do that. So I encourage you to maybe take 5 or 10 minutes after we end our table time today, and just to kind of think through this past week, if there's anything that you can do that would make one small step that would make a change for you. Even if it's a small thing, like Marty mentioned, buying the stainless steel versus the plastic. We've talked about a few other goals that would make changes for you. I would love to be able to hear your celebrations next week. And you can share them with the class if you want to. This is one thing that I did this past week that made a difference for me. So we're here to cheer each other on. Yes, Marty.
So, okay, I probably drink enough water, or by half my body weight, but what I don't do is anything with electrolytes.
Okay. Okay. And are you active, like doing some, even at home, doing some physical activity and things like that?
Gail says very.
Very active? Okay. Okay. So that's, for most people who aren't doing like an hour of activity outside and sweating, for the general population, I might say, you're probably going to get enough electrolytes from your food. But if you're experiencing things like, do you ever have a blood pressure, like you feeling like you're having low blood pressure, Marty, or where you're feeling a little dizzy or not as energetic after you do more activity?
I don't notice it's so much related to the activity, but at times I feel like maybe I'm low blood pressure, that I'm a little dizzy.
Okay. You may want to consider either making some of that electrolyte drink that I made in the kitchen on Wednesday and doing some of that in place of your water. That would give you a little bit more electrolytes. You don't have to do all of it. And as I looked back over the video, I thought, I hope it was clear. You don't have to drink that all the time, but that's just more if you're going to be doing some rock steady or you're going to be doing some yard work and you need a little bit extra boost. Sometimes people just start to feel really drained if they don't have enough electrolytes in their body. So that potassium and sodium, and then we'll talk about magnesium in the next few weeks as well. Those all go together for that electrolyte. So you can make that beverage. The other thing that I had in the kitchen that I forgot to even show you, and I didn't bring it with me today, is coconut water. Have any of you ever tried coconut water? Okay. It's something, and I'll try to send a picture of it. You can buy coconut water at the store. It doesn't taste like coconut. It's clear, and it has a lot of electrolytes in it. So it's a natural electrolyte drink. Some people like to drink it straight. Some people like to mix it with their water. And one of the recipes that I included for the week was a pineapple electrolyte cooler. You can use any kind of juice. You don't have to use pineapple juice. But it mixes that coconut water along with some other fluid so that you're not just having that. So that's another thing you can consider. And then I will also put a product or two in the Parkinson's category of my Full Script store for some electrolyte powders that you could use in a concentrate. There is one bottle called E-Light that comes in like a water bottle, and you add just a little bit of it to your water. That's another simple thing that you can just add a little bit of that one. It has some more pure electrolytes in it. So you don't have to have a huge amount, but sometimes people do notice a difference. And it can help with that dizziness feeling, or if you've been sitting down and you stand up and you feel dizzy all of a sudden and that your blood pressure dropped, sometimes electrolytes can help with that as well. Does that answer your question? Okay. Well, these are great questions. I am so glad you all could be here today. I really wish you could be at my dining room table and I could be serving you tea or coffee or Dandy Blend and we could meet each other, but hopefully one day that can happen. But I hope you all have a very good weekend. Enjoy some sunshine outside. If you have questions that pop up over the weekend, just let me know. I'm here for you, and I look forward to see you in the classroom on Monday. Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.